Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game Day Squads, Women's Aussie Rules Show. My name is Tom, and I'm joined by my trusty co-host in Bales and Jaiden. Fellas, how are we going? And are we ready to talk some fantasy footy?
Hey Tom, yes, going great, and plenty to talk about again this week. But yeah, my team is a little bit struggling, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Yep, going good, Tom. A bit tired, just off the plane from Cairns. So so we'll get through this, and I'll have a snooze after. But no, going well. But we should just start off with Jaiden's pop-out picks because they just keep delivering. But no, we'll get in. I'm looking forward to getting to that once again, seeing who I should be putting in my game day squad. But yeah, so this round, 1832, round rank of 31, put me down to a season rank of 21. So just slowly sliding, which is very frustrating. Hopefully I can finish inside the top 20. I'd be disappointed if I didn't after having a good first half of the year. But a few defenders this week letting me down. And Hatchard also just with that sort of went off with I think concussion test, so that cost me a little bit and a couple other players. But yeah, so all in all, not a terrible week, but not a great week either.
Yes, mate. Fair enough. And Jaiden, how about yourself, mate? How did you go this round?
Yeah, 15.55. It's hard to look at 51st for the rounds. So I keep sliding as well. I guess the biggest thing is, I say it every week, but these players that I have invested a lot of salary in, these gold players, are just not quite working out for me. Hatchard struggled with that concussion test in there. And yeah, I also had Jesse Wardlaw, who, like St Kilda, just didn't even get the ball on the weekend. And then a couple of other role changes have just killed my defence. So, yeah, struggling.
Fair enough, mate. And for me this week, I did pretty well. 1,962 points. That was good enough for 19th for the round, 13th for the season. So just floating very close to that top 10. And that is my goal. We've got 2 rounds left. I want to crack into the top 10. Hopefully, get some rewards for that. But it was just feast or famine for my team. I made some great decisions, like the new addition of Goldsworthy this week. I'm sure we'll touch on her performance a little bit later. And then had some others that just let me down who have been playing really well. But that's the beautiful game of fantasy. But so, week's pretty average, but nonetheless, can't complain. Still in the hunt. And speaking of being in the hunt, these were the best of the best for the week for Game Day Squad. 2,138 fantasy points was good enough to win our classic competition, and then in our champion, 2,693. So a monster score there from Fez Monkey. So congratulations to our winners. But fellas, what do we make of it this week?
114 points, better than second and champion. Fez Monkeys, what the hell, man? Bloody hell, good week for him. But again, we say every week, the gap is obviously pretty big between Classic and Champion now with all those diamonds and players like that out there. So, it's frustrating looking at the top 10 for each and haven't had a top 10 finish any week this season. So, fingers crossed we can get one in the final couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's certainly these weeks where the big guns deliver. And, yeah, in my forward line, looked nothing like what these guys would have had with the Goldsworthies. And, yeah, there's so many big scores. And yeah, it looks like Fez Monkeys just fit them all in this week.
Yeah, we'll actually have a little stat on that later, but I might, I'll refrain from spoiling anything. But before we do, we're going to get into our first player analysis segment. We're going to be looking at a player's performance from a fantasy perspective to help you all get game day ready. Let's start it off, fellas, as we do with the Emojtrix. And what we do here is we have 4 set ones and then we go a little bit rogue. And the first of the 4 being our fire emoji. This is a performance which was lit.
I think that the lit performance, I think fire and rocket emoji can just go to the same player this week. I think there's only one player that deserves this award for both.
Well, I agree, but I've actually, knowing that you two were going to do that, I've sort of, gone away from the 2 in the mold. And I wanted to shout out someone who debuted for me this week. Brianne Moody. 16 kicks, 46 hitouts, 156 fantasy points. So knowing that the rightful selection will be made later, that's going to be my lit performance for the round.
Yeah. I think we can. I think I'm not going to say Goldsworthy because I think it's automatic that she gets both the fire emoji and rocket emoji for me anyway. So I'll shout out a couple of other players that did well. For lit emoji, I'm going to go Monconti. 146 fantasy points. I don't have the game day squad points in front of me. I don't know if you boys have got it in front of you, but she was obviously fantastic. Put up her first really big ceiling score of the season and has now put herself in that mix of being that in the top 5 midfielders, because now she's, I know in the official game, she's now the 5th highest averaging midfielder behind the big 4 of Marinoff, Garner, Rowbottom and Riddell, and she's the 5th. So she's having a very good season, and this one was the biggest one of the season. So looks like she
and
could
the
finish
score
very
for
big.
Game Day squad?
Yep.
169 fantasy points,
wow.
mate. So, monster performance from her.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Moody as well. I had it written down, and yeah, I think it's just so nice when like the players that we talked about last week make it through to this, because that's just getting rewarded for like picking those players, and I know you had a Tom, so well done.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was only because of you. We did a trade prior to last round, bronze for bronze. I think it was Davey for Moody, if I'm not mistaken. So. Yeah, nice little loan there for me, and paid some dividends. I can't complain.
I see how it is. Didn't get Moody.
But I do think Goldsworthy is the rightful owner for that, so potentially should just get the 3 votes anyway. But we'll move it on. Stock down emoji. A disappointing performance for the round for me. I'm emotionally hedging in this one. It's Belinda Smith, 5 kicks, 3 tackles, 38 fantasy points. Just not it this week.
Yeah, disappointing performance too. I said her last week, I think. Hannah Priest again. The hope was she was going to go back in the mids, and I didn't watch much footy this week. I was obviously busy with my dad's wedding all weekend, and I only got to watch 6 quarters of footy, which was disappointing. So I didn't actually get to see her roll, but looking at the score, it seemed like it was back in defence again. I'm clutching on straws here. I think she goes in the mids this week. I think she tags Ali Anderson. I think St Kilda's still in with a hunt to get in the top 8 and they need to win. So, yeah, that's my hope. But, yeah, Priest gets stocks down for this week for me.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't that fun to watch. The first bouts of the ball, which is in the goal square at fullback. So, yeah, not amazing. I'm going to give... Well, it's not so much disappointing performance of the round, but it's a little bit of stocks down. And the thing about stocks down is it could actually mean stocks down now, so you need to, maybe get on, and then before it goes back up. So I'm saying Ruby Slasher this week. She scored 56 game day squad points. She's a defender in this format, so I don't know. I feel like if you're having a look at her stats, she might not seem amazing. So potentially you might want to, while the stock is low, you want to maybe get one, because she's a defender. It looked like her role on the weekend was going to suggest that she'll be a defender next year. And yeah, I think you could, get a sneaky, really good defender for next year while the stocks are down now.
I think she had limited game time as well. I think that's why I factored a bit.
Yeah, love it. And she looked good, moving well out there, especially coming off a significant injury. Rocket emoji, exploding performance for the round. And again, it probably should be Goldsworthy, just smashing it, but I'm going close to home. I'm going Chloe Malloy, the Sydney Swan, 3 goals, 20 kicks, 11 tackles, 161 of the best. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you took mine, mate. I was going to go Chloe Malloy as well. So now, hang on. I'll try and...
You should know if a Swan played well. I've pretty much got it on wraps. Don't stress.
Oh, mate, I was hoping partly you'd go a certain other Swan that's been going really, really well this season. But it's probably not really exploding points because we just know how good Laura Gardner is at this point. And same with like a Marinoff. So who am I going to go? Actually, that's a good one. Actually, I've got a good one here, actually. Jean Anscorn. Against nice. West Coast to win the loss with, I think, 17 tackles, I think she had, or something crazy like that. So she went over 130 game day squad points. I was tempted by her in official, actually. But, yeah, she had a fantastic game. So, yeah, for me, she gets the exploding performance of the round.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nance Gorwin. I won the weekly in Mariah's Magic version this week, thanks to her. So I have Goldsworthy written.
What did you get for the prize, actually, in that?
I believe it's a 2024 subscription, which is, much
nice.
much appreciated. But yeah, for my rocket exploding performance of the round, I put Goldsworthy down. I think the
Yes.
AFLW world, and even crossing over to the AFL world, knows exactly who she is now.
19. We said it in the lives room yesterday. 19 years old doing.
Actually, she's
what
18. She's turning
doing.
19 later in the year. I,
Oh,
I was
gosh.
correct the first time last night. I said 18, then I corrected myself 19. I was actually right the first time. 18. Ridiculous.
Scary for the league. How
Yep.
good she already is, and she has time to improve, which is just mind-boggling. After scoring 199 fantasy points this week, gosh, it doesn't even sound real from a forward. But let's the last one, last emoji, our money bag. This is someone whose price is going to go through the roof, and this is a probably not very accurate because she's very well known, but it's Ellie Blackburn. I just think the end to this season she's going to have is going to be fantastic in terms of matchups and fantasy points. But last week, she had 14 kicks, 16 handballs, 139 fantasy points. Maybe a bit of a pod player with how many, the big name players have been playing well, but don't sleep on her because she's going to be featuring in my team this week. She's great.
Yeah. Actually, well, my money bag was actually, I wasn't sure who I was going to go with this one, but actually Jaiden pointed out, I'm actually going to go Ruby Slicer here. I'm going to say her name again, buy now before the price goes through the roof here. Hasn't had a big game yet. Last week, her first game of the season, but she could have a decent into the season because I just imagine that her game time will start to ramp up as Collingwood hopefully can embark on a final series in the women's, along with hopefully, well, you never know. Could they go the double? Could they go and win the women's premiership along with the men's? That'd be interesting. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully the Crows get it. But
Yeah, I think they're definitely a chance to win everything. I've got Montana Ham for the bye now. She's had an injury-interrupted season. She came out and scored 97 game-day squad points this week. So that's the Montana Ham we know. And I think she's very good value for money. The number one draft pick from last year. So the dynasty prospect is back.
Beautiful. That wraps up our set ones. Let's go rogue, boys. Let's do a couple of the ones that we have prepared for the show. I've only got one this week, and the reason is that I actually wanted to get your opinions on my emoji and whether you agree, disagree, where you stand. And mine is a confused emoji, and it's for Kiara Bowers. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't know whether Bowers is going to be starting in my squad for the rest of the season or not. And there's a big concern for me with only 2 rounds left to play, 64% time on ground last game against the Saints. Should I be looking elsewhere? Should I trust that Bowers just needed to get right game? She's coming off an injury. Maybe she goes back to her old self next week. I am so confused. I need some guidance. Boys, I might start with you, Bales. What's your thoughts on Bowers? Can you trust her for the remainder of this year?
it's a question, isn't it? It's a question we've been haunted by all season. Bowers or not to Bowers? I'm currently leaning to, put her in. I not in good conscience. I don't think I could leave her out personally. I've got a silver version. She's currently in my 5 midfielders because I just think that she can go massive. She scored near 100 game day squad points to silver she scored just over 100 points as a silver in very limited game time. And Freo have got their final series still alive just. They would need to beat Melbourne this week to have a shot. So I can't imagine they're going to really limit her this week. Maybe the next week, if they lose this week and then they're knocked out, then maybe they do. But I think Bowers this week can put up a decent score with a lot of tackles.
It just feels wrong not starting a healthy Bowers, it's just crazy to think about. But Jaiden, what's your thoughts on it, mate? What are you doing?
Yeah, I've just looked at the quarter-by-quarter stats. We saw she started on the bench, and it was quite a long stint on the bench as well. But, yeah, she scored well in the second and fourth quarters. So, around about 30 points in those quarters. So that's the Bowers we know. I think the thing to be wary of is that St Kilda, who they played on the weekend, are the number one team in the comp for stoppages. So she might have benefited a little bit from that. If there's a game that's more open this week, i.e. against Melbourne, she's probably not going to be around the ball very much. So I think maybe just hold off this week against Melbourne and reconsider for the Sydney game to end the year.
Wow. Oh, it's fair enough as well. But that'll wrap up my one. Bales, what about yourself, mate? What have you got?
Don't you have another second one?
Nah, I just went the one because I just wanted to spend some time discussing that with you both because I am confused. I still am. I have no greater direction even after the chat.
Fair enough. Well, I'm going to give the crown emoji to Ebony Marinoff. She's just an absolute machine. She just gets it done every week.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I do the MVP vote on my Instagram story. If you haven't voted, make sure you do. I think that'll have a couple of hours by the time this video goes up, so make sure you vote. But I swear I have Marinoff in the top 4 scorers every week. Like, because she goes 100. She's essentially a walking 125 in official and Res Magic, but she's essentially a walking 140 in game day squad. Like, she just gets it done. She's just so good. So she gets the crown emoji. And then who am I going to go? The other one. I'm going to go with. Interesting. I haven't thought about the second one. I had the one in my head, and that's it. Actually, I'll go the temperature gauge, and I'll just go like exploding, mix the temperature gauge and exploding thing, and say Zali Goldsworthy again, because I just think we just have to mention her again, because 168 points is just ridiculous. So yeah, she gets the second one. I just can't not.
Yeah, love it. And Jaiden, what about yourself this week, mate? Where have you gone?
I've got a fingers crossed emoji up first, and that's for Ella Roberts. 57 game day squad points on the weekend against the Bombers. Pretty difficult opponent from a fantasy perspective. They don't give up a lot of points to any position, so maybe she can be excused. And fingers crossed she bounces back this week. She's playing against the Bulldogs, and boy oh boy, it's the easiest forward matchup by a long way. So fingers crossed she can bounce back, because I have her currently in my game day squad forward line, as I'm sure a lot of people do.
I reckon she gets her first ton this week in like official, meaning she'll go big. I think game day squad, mate. That's my prediction.
Certainly able to do that. And I've just got a graveyard emoji, and that's for St Kilda at the moment. Just don't.
I can hear Liam agreeing. I can hear Liam.
Just don't even bother. Don't even bother picking anyone from St Kilda in your game day squad team. I can't remember how many I had. I had Wardlaw. I still had Hannah Priest in there, just hoping and praying that potentially she could move back into the midfield. Just don't even bother. They got absolutely smashed by Freo in a game where they needed to win to, contend for the 8. There's still a chance, but to lose to an opponent around about that same area, it's pretty crucial. So, look, it's hard to rule out an entire team like this, but it's just a graveyard for scoring at the moment.
Oh gosh, I feel like a lot of people in the fantasy world agree with that one. But that wraps us up. The Emojtrix done. We're going to go over to our bronze squad, fellas. I'll take it away with this one. The bronze squad is back, and this man on the screen, he's been leading the charge all year. He's such a Chad. Just have a look at this dude. Mate. Oh, I love him so much. What a guy. Bronze is good. We'll find out this week. 2,290 points, which is a pretty monstrous score. How it was done. This is the bronze squad in its all entirety. But let's go line group by line group. Our defenders, we got Stannett, Heads, Emerson, O'Shea, Kearney, and Walker. So Walker, the first time, and O'Shea debuting in the bronze squad this week. Interesting to see them joining the part. We'll go to the mid/ruck. We got Conti, we touched on before how good she played. Marinoff, who's just there every week. Rowbottom, Blackburn, and Nance Cowan, which you touched on in the Emojtrix, debuting as well. How good. Top 5 mid this week, and then Moody in our ruck position. The forwards, no surprise, the number one is Zali Goldsworthy into Gardner, Conway, Too Good, Kelly, and then Frederick, who's been in and out of the lineup at points, but she's been pretty consistent this year in terms of her fantasy output. But 2,290 points, which would have been enough to win a classic competition. I have some more takeaways this week. And it's funny because the defenders had the second lowest output for the season, the lowest being in round 1. So it's been 8 whole weeks until they've played, that low. And the other one is this week, we saw the highest output in terms of fantasy points for the forwards all season. And my question to you is, you can see them on the screen. How many of the forwards bronze squad did you have in your own starting squads this week? I want to know down below in the comments. But fellas, that wraps up the bronze squad. Forwards were just killed it this week. And Bailey, I believe it's time for you to take it away as our transfer market master, mate. So you do your thing.
Well, just quickly as well, you had Sophie Conway on your side this week, didn't you?
Mate, yeah, I know you're doing that to be cheeky because you know I didn't have Sophie Conway in my side. I subbed her out for Roberts. So when you mentioned Roberts before, the fingers crossed. Gosh, I hope so. Let's hope so because maybe
Make
it might
sure
be
you have
worth it.
make sure you have both in this week because they both got great matchups. So you're going to want definitely both in your side. But yeah, let's get stuck into transfer market master. We are still living in the shadow of Jaiden's pop out picks because he nails them every week, and transfer market master is just a bit of chat really. But we're going to touch on again. We talked about Kiara Bowers, so pretty much it'd be a shorter answer because we discussed her a bit in length. Tom, are you buying low maybe to get one for next season, in the hope that she gets maybe fit and she goes well, and because this is probably the cheapest she'll be? Are you holding or are you selling and you're just sort of parting ways? What are you doing with Kiara Bowers?
I personally think it's a hold situation. I have thought about it since you had a discussion. I was putting it out there in terms of the Bowers discussion, but I won't be trusting her moving forward. I think there are just better options this year to play in your midfield. If you have 5 spots, I just feel like I can easily name 5 players who I can trust that are going to go at least have a great opportunity to score this week. Whether they play well or not, who knows? But, I just think I can trust 5 other mids in the next 2 rounds more than Kiara Bowers. But do I want a Bowers long term? Of course I do. So if I have a Bowers and I know that next year she's going to be back, going to be healthy, a full preseason, ready to go, mate, Bowers will be starting from week 1 in my squad. So I think it's a situation where if you have a hold, it's a great buy low opportunity for the remainder of this year. But she's the GOAT. We spoke about it a long time ago. So it's funny that I spoke about her in such a negative light before, because it's very rare you can ever do that about Bowers, but that's my position on her at the moment.
Yeah. Jaiden?
Yeah, I certainly agree. I don't actually have a Bowers, but I'm not in such a rush to get her in. Like I said, plays Melbourne this week. Don't think it's really worth, having a crack with her. So then there's only 1 game left. But yeah, like Tom said, if she can get a full preseason, Fremantle's midfield is, it's led by her 100%. There's not many other players. There's not many other players in the comp with such a reliance in there from a fantasy point of view, I guess. So yeah, definitely hold on to one if you've got her.
Yeah, I'm buy. You want to get one before she goes big, and you don't have to play her. You can just buy one, have it there, in the hopes that she gets back, because we know she'll get back to her best form at some point, whether it be this season or next season. So for me, it's a buy. But not good buy, as in buy. Next player on the list, Georgie Prasparkas. Sort of just been chugging along, getting some average scores. I think we can all agree she's a great dynasty asset, but this is more a case of for this season. Jaiden, are you buying in terms of putting her into your side? Are you selling and sort of just leaving her in your club, or are you holding and sort of you're just a bit unsure?
Yeah, look, this is what I kind of talk about every week, because I have a Georgie Prasparkas. She's gold, and I get let down by these gold picks. They're not quite, putting out these massive scores that I kind of need. But I would certainly be tempted to buy one. If I didn't have one, because I still think, even though she's had these lower scores the last few weeks, she's still very high up in the game, if that makes sense. She's still, I think she scored a 96 the other week, and that was the best score of the game. So she's still the best player in her games, but maybe they just haven't been so friendly. The game against Collingwood, tough matchup against Collingwood mids, and yeah, none of the Cats massively fired.
Second highest score for the game or something, wasn't she?
Yeah, so she's still up there. I think we just need maybe a game where, it's against someone a little bit easier, the conditions are good, and then bang, she's back. So I think buy low right now.
Like it, man. For me personally, with Georgie, I wouldn't be starting her with the assumption that she's going to be a top 5 forward this week or maybe make the bronze squad next week. But I just think it's a case of you know what you're going to get. She's the main midfielder for the Geelong Cats. And you saw last week, I think she finished as the second highest scorer for the game under McDonald, but she was really close to tunning up big time. She had 3 behinds. A lot of those kicks could have been goals with a little bit of better conditions. I know the conditions were really rough last week. I'm massive on her long term, as you said, but I think we can all agree on that. But in terms of this season, I think it's a good buy opportunity. But if I'm starting Georgie, I'm not starting her with the thought process she's going to dominate and be one of the top scorers for the round, but I'm starting her with a floor or a nice base of fantasy points that I can go off. So,
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm probably holding because I'm a little bit unsure. I think good dynasty asset, buy low, get her in your club, but I'm unsure if you start her or not. I think there are a lot of good options with good matchups this weekend. We'll go to another midfielder, so a bit of a midfielder theme. The final player. This player's got a great matchup this week against the Bulldogs. It's Emma Swanson coming off of her biggest score of the season. Tom, are you buying, holding, or selling Emma Swanson?
I'm buying Swanson stock right now. I really like, first of all, her finish to the season this year. She's got some great matchups moving forward, and I just think she's really undervalued. And probably the reason is that people had an expectation of the way that she was going to play this year, and maybe that expectation was a little bit lower, or it's a little bit higher, than her current play in terms of her average score per game, but she's still putting up numbers, and I do think she's pretty underrated in terms of the numbers she has been putting up, and it's been a pretty tough year for West Coast just in general, so a lot of the matchups haven't been in their favour and haven't been net positive, but I'm buying her stocks up. I think she's a great pod play for the last 2 rounds and that she's going to continue to play well.
Yep. Jaiden?
Yeah, I agree. I just looked her up there, and you can get a silver Swanson for $2 right now. As at the time of recording, I think it might be gone pretty soon though. But yeah, I agree with that. I think I was just looking at her market share, so what percentage of the Eagles points she gets. To start off the year, she was absolutely dominating with a similar proportion to the best players in the comp like Marinoff, but the problem is for the Eagles, they just couldn't score team points together. So she's certainly reliable in that sense, but the Eagles aren't. So this week playing against the Bulldogs, who give up the most points in total, if Swanson can maintain that average of she's averaging 9% of the Eagles' points. So yeah, if they improve that by 100 points this week, then that's an extra 9 points for her right there. So it doesn't take much, and I think with the Bulldogs this week you can get one.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. I'm buying, but not personally myself because I've already got 2 silvers. So if you boys want a silver, I'm happy to trade. So, but yeah, so that is the transfer market analysis. We a bit of a midfield themed one, but we've only got a couple of rounds to go. So yeah, make sure you get your buys in to put them in your squads for the final couple of weeks before we get into finals.
Love it. Bit of market manipulation there, Bales. It was very invested into the Swanson chat. But nah, she is great. But let's move it on to I said infamous last week. Jaiden wasn't happy. The famous, maybe I should call it, the pop-out picks. Jaiden, mate, do your thing. Take it away and just preach to the world.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's certainly going very well this year. And the hours and hours of research that go into it. But I've got 3 more for you this week. We've already talked about a couple of them, and the Bronze Squad was certainly beneficiary of these players this week. But hopefully they can back it up next week based on the matchups they have. So I'm going to start off in defence. I'm pretty keen on this one. It's Brooke Walker from Essendon. They play Carlton this week, which is pretty nice, but I think the main thing we always look for in defenders is, that little bit of midfield time. So we saw it with Hannah Priest, even though it's gone now. We just want that, just a sprinkling of midfield time just to push that kind of floor score up a bit, which is what you want in defence. Brooks averaging 59.5 points this year and decent tackle numbers, but the most exciting thing is over the last 3 weeks with Essendon's midfield injuries, she's just moved into the middle just a little bit. So she's had 40%, 62.5%, and last week 44% centre bounce attendances, which is very nice. She's moved in after Vought got injured, so it is a little bit of a watch just on whether they are still injured. So I think both Vought and Kane are a test. Oh, not Kane. Kane got concussed for 2 weeks, so there was another injury on the weekend, which helped Walker to score even better. But yeah, averaging 80 points essentially over the last 2 weeks in defence, that's just gold. And you can get a gold one of her for 19 cents on the market right now. So for a defender, that's pretty awesome. Into the midfield, we've talked about her already, and so have I. It's Georgia Nanscorn. She's just been smashing it in the midfield. And like I said, there's plenty of Bombers mids that are on the injury list at the moment, and I think she's benefiting from that. Earlier in the year, she had some, decent scores, not worthy of top 5. So that's why her season average is sitting at around 90, and I think that's just because Essendon had a bit wider of a midfield mix. Now there's a few that are injured, so she's certainly benefiting from that, averaging 7.6 tackles, and yeah, we saw it with 137 on the weekend, 121 points over her last 4 rounds, and I'm super glad I've still got her in other fantasy formats. And yeah, playing Carlton, we've seen what teams do to Carlton. Guess who played Carlton last week? Zali Goldsworthy. Before that, we saw Bree Davey and Benici go bananas. So I think this could be a really good option, and maybe just a sneaky one that you might have in your reserves. Maybe you need to consider for the top 5 mids of the week. She made the bronze squad last week, so we know she can do it. So that's it for Nanscorn this week. And in the forward line, Sophie Conway. She scored 130 last week. But yeah, maybe you just need to put her in now. 130 last week. That's awesome. And averaging 91 for the season. That's pretty good for a forward, isn't it? But the thing that I was really keen about and why I wanted to include her this week is because she plays the Saints. Freo absolutely dominated them last week, and I believe it's the second best matchup for forwards. So yeah, that's what I'm attracted to this week for having Sophie Conway in your team. I'm sure everyone who has a Sophie Conway card has been playing her. But yeah.
Oh, no.
108 average over the last 2 for a forward. I really need to get one because she's playing St Kilda this week. So if you don't have one, maybe buy low right now before she comes out with a big score. And yeah, that'll wrap us up for the pop-out picks this week.
So did you say you don't have Conway, Jaiden?
No, I don't.
Oh, you can just get off Tom. He doesn't want to play her. He decides to just get off him.
Yeah, I guess you may as well, mate. You may as well. I just can't seem to get away from this horrible decision. It's just been following me ever since the weekend, and I just have to be reminded about how good she played and how average my coaching was on the weekend. So I can't run away from my demons. But that wraps us up. The pop-out picks, definitely listen to what Jaiden has to say, because as Bales hinted at before, he's been nailing them all year. It's easily the best player analysis we do on this show. But yeah, let's go to a bit of fun stuff, get away from this Conway curse, and it's going to be our pack battles. And I've liked the way we've done it this year. I've got a juicy pack battle for you this week, fellas. Are you ready for the reveal?
Yeah, you say fun, but it'd be fun if I was getting the packs. That'd be fun.
Take your time.
Here we go.
Have a look at these packs, but I'll tell you what, for me, there's not much thought that goes into this one.
It's actually, so you say not much thought, but part of me is just like the 3-player pack to get McAvoy and Gardner in the same pack is pretty impressive. So shout out to Pato's squad, but you do make the point. You've got to go
one of one.
You've got to go Miley's Mighties. You got a legend. Doesn't matter what player. Like Vesley's probably not someone you're going to put in your side at all, but Yeah, you've got to go someone with legend. And also the fact that you've got Paige Scott, good dynasty asset to have, and then you also get Alice Edmonds and even Bianca Jacobson could be solid as well. So, but I'm definitely not discounting Pato's squad's pack as well. A 3-player pack to get 2 very usable cards, especially the number 1 forward, is very, very helpful.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bales, to get a legend, Vesely, and yeah, Vessel is the player that's kept Hannah Priest out of the midfield, so she must be doing something right. 24 years old, good dynasty prospect. That's a very nice card to have now. So, yep, I'll give my vote to Miley's Mighty as well.
Do you know how many legends
There we go.
packed in AFLW, Tom?
Gosh, I don't. I should get the numbers on that, and maybe I can announce it on the show next week and see how rare that pool actually is.
Yeah, exactly right.
Love it. But congratulations, Miley's Mighty. I had a good cheeky feeling you were going to win it. So I pre-did the slide, predetermined, and had them there already. But yeah, you already pulled one legend. Let's see if you can pull another with the pack codes that I send you. I'll be contacting you in the Discord. And for next week, you know what? I want to do a theme. And because we had a really, really bad week of defenders this week, and it was the second worst in terms of the bronze squad, I want the best defenders that you can pull. Who are the players that you're going to put in your back line for this next round to help try to rectify some of the smaller scores that were scored? So that's the theme I want. So send away your packs and good luck, everyone, to next week. Fellas, that went by. All done. Thank you very much for coming along. Smashing it another week. We'll only have one more show, which is a little bit sad. But before we go...
I'm not going to do a round 10 sort of review, like a season review maybe?
I think we will, but it's not like going to be, I guess, the show. It's just going to be...
different.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll definitely make a bit more content as the season wraps up. But Bales, mate, thanks for coming on. Where can everyone find you and all the great things you do?
Thanks, Tom, mate. Always a pleasure. Always every on the Tuesday night with you and Jaiden. You can find me at BalesDT on Twitter and Instagram, and truly BalesHD on YouTube. So make sure you follow on the socials and subscribe to YouTube, because that's where you can get our Twitter Spaces, Tom, that we do every Sunday night. Round reviews. We get a guest on every now and again. So it's always a good chat on a Sunday night. If not, worst case, it's a Monday night if we have a few things going on. But yeah, make sure you subscribe there, and also follow AFL Fantasy Fanatics, because that's where the Twitter Spaces do come from. So, but yeah, beautiful. Thanks again, Tom, as always.
No worries, mate. Definitely go show Bale some love. He's killing it. And Jaiden, what about yourself, mate? Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, cheers, Tom. You can find me on Twitter/X these days at Jaiden_Poski. And yeah, the main thing on there is my weekly spreadsheet with everything you need for your upcoming AFLW fantasy round. Update that pretty quickly now that the season has been underway. So CBA stats, who's kicking in, who's got the best matchups, everything you need on there. So feel free to have a look at that. And yeah.
I reckon, Jaiden, you need to either make a separate Twitter profile and call it Pop At Picks, or change your username to Pop At Picks, mate, because it's going worldwide.
It's certainly going well. And I did just have a look on the market just then. You can get those 3 players I mentioned, all in silver. You can get them for under $3.50 right now. All 3 of them combined. So that's less than a pack. I know people love to just have that hit of a pack, but you could get, for half the price of a pack, you could pick up those 3 players right now. So I might do that myself.
I could just hear
Macca's,
Hungry Jack's, KFC, all these adverts going on. You can get this meal for $3.50 or whatever. It's just who cares about that? Buy these players are going to do well in GameDay squad for less than $4. Mate, so.
It's like the loose change menu.
Yeah.
Jaiden's loose change menu. But where you can find me at TommyGDS. I'm running a competition on my Twitter every week where I'm giving away free player cards. So make sure you follow along with that and just have a guess of the score, because you never know, you might win and just get some free cards on the house from your boy. But cheers everyone for tuning in. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're going to have more content coming out soon. And we'll catch all of you legends later. See you, bro.
See ya.